All right, so this is my how much life can we get Titan build. The goal of this, and I started with one simple question, was how much life can you actually get in Path of Exile 2? And I'm happy to report we actually made the character with the most life currently in the league. The most that we have hit was 18,700 with this build, but I switched around some points in order to be both tankier as well as do more damage and still have 16,000 plus HP. You can see this is what I call the look mom no hands full-on AFK type of clear build. This is a tier 3 simulacrum, and we have even killed Uber Arbiter with this build. We also farmed like a dozen tier 3 Orofs. You can AFK farm a simulacrum, though notably there is two things that can actually kill you in this game if you are kind of just standing AFK farming content that I've noticed. One of them being anti-recovery modifiers from like a rare mob maker where you can't recover up to 50%. You get either Big Slam or the Shroud Walker, which turns off your recovery entirely. Those can actually get you killed if you're not paying attention. But this is a not immortal, but fairly tanky build. And if I put on different gear and all that just for the sake of HP, we can start gaining HP pretty quickly. And I think if I actually had more money to invest into this build, then I probably could break 20,000 HP. But it is the most HP that I'm able to get, most in the league, though notably not the most HP in the history of Path of Exile 2, is I did see there were some Gimling stat stackers in previous leagues that were able to break some pretty nutty numbers as well. But let me break down how the build works. I'll show you a quick Uber Arbiter kill. We'll talk about how the build works and where the damage is coming from. Got the regen blocker. Yo, we actually killed Uber Arbiter with the 0 button build. Yo, that was Uber. So there's the tail end of the Arbiter kill. It's a long fight. I mean, it took me like 10 minutes or something because you're going to notice I'm like walking in to the damage in order to apply Corrupting Blood, because that's where all the damage from this build actually comes. And I have a Dream Scepter swap to help a bit with actual map clear. So let me explain to you the way this build actually works. I'm going to start by explaining where the damage comes from, and then I'll explain where our life comes from. So there is an item in the game called the Blood Barrier. And what the Blood Barrier does is it inflicts corrupted blood for 5.9 seconds on block, dealing 59% of your maximum life as physical damage per second. Now, a normal one looks like this, which is 50% for 5 seconds, but you can corrupt these stats up to 6.1 seconds and 61%. I can't afford the 61% right now, but you can actually get that. And there's even a version of this that can be Vol corrupted, which can remove either life regen or chaos res or block, etc., and add increased maximum life. So there's even more expensive options that could push this build even further in terms of HP. But this is the one I could afford. Okay, so corrupted blood, if you don't know how it works, is a physical degen. Basically, it's like a dot. It's like bleed, but bleed's an element, and this is not. This is just a physical dot. So the only way to make this deal more and more damage is by having more health, so that percentage of this is dealing more base damage. If I'm doing 50%, for instance, on this one, I have 16,300 HP. I'm effectively doing 8,150 per stack. And Corrupting Blood can actually stack up to 10 times, so that would be 81,000 damage per second. But then, because it's physical, we can use anything that's just a damage mod, plus anything that is physical mod to give us more damage. So like increased physical damage, for instance, we can use that to make the Corrupting Blood do more, or we can use things like, let me show you here. We have some, let me find where I put the jewels. I have jewels everywhere. Where is it? Like this here. We can use a jewel socket that does block chance. We need block because on block is when we actually apply the Corrupting Blood, as well as increased global physical damage, and that's 12% more as well. Now, there's not a lot of like physical damage actually on the tree, but you can find some of it. Here, there's more physical up here with these added plant nodes, so we could get even more damage there, for instance. So you can take that, you can even take the increased damage per strength, and we are stacking strength. I mean, we've got 905 strength, for instance, and you can take this node, which increases damage per block chance. Now, all of these just global damage modifier nodes, it basically is increasing how much that each stack of this does, and then we're doing 10 stacks of it. So if I have 8150 HP, but then I have 100% increased damage, I'm actually basically doing the, or if I have 8150 as my base for 50% of my HP, then I increase by 100, I'm basically doing 100% of my HP as damage, and then so on and so forth as you either have a better blood barrier and you have more physical modifiers. So you're doing more and more and more damage. So we need physical damage. That's key number one to actually make this work. But the other notable parts, obviously, we need health. So where am I getting 16,303 life from? Well, no, obviously, you know, for every 1 strength, you get 2 life. So we're obviously going to be taking a lot of travel nodes. We're going to be taking things on the tree that give us life or strength as well. Here, these would be more life nodes. I'm only level 90. There's a long way to go with the build. And on Titan, you have 15% more maximum life, which is worth about 1,500, 1,600 HP right now for me. And then these 4% increased strength nodes is worth more life, and then 50% increased effect of small passives will help us in 2 ways. One of which is it's going to increase these strength nodes as well. But also, when you have something like this is Against the Darkness, which is giving life and strength, life to the small nodes, that actually is increased by Hulking Form as well. So 8 max life, but it's increased by 50% because of Hulking Form. So we're actually getting 12 max life for every small node as well, which is the equivalent to about 6 strength, to give you an idea, okay? And then it's modified by the more life, etc. So that is how we are getting our base life. We also have Undying Hate, which we desecrated to give us more strength per small travel node. So we have 5 strength plus 6, so there's 11 strength per each one of these nodes here. Then we're running Grand Spectrum Jewels, which is giving us 2% increase max life per Grand Spectrum, and we have 3 of these. So there's 6% per Grand Spectrum because they stack. We have 3 of them, and then there's 3 of those, so that's 18% maximum life from having 3 of those actually on the tree. So we have a bunch of like life-related shenanigans, and obviously we're taking the more attributes here, we're taking more strength here, we're taking more maximum life here in Gym Enthusiast, we have more maximum life here, and also life recovery. Then we have more maximum life on the Nolabos from the Against the Darkness, or excuse me, more increased strength from the Nolabos here, and then we have increased max life here. And we could even get more increased max life up here if I had more levels. So there's a lot of like little percentage life nodes that we're actually getting on the tree. And I'll have a link down below to the planner if you want to actually look at this as well. So we're able to get some life on the tree. But then we're actually looking at getting life on the gear. Now, there's this helmet called Veil of the Night, which makes it where you have no elemental resistances, but it gives you an increase of maximum life. The base is 50%, and this can be corrupted up to 61% as well. By the way, if you didn't know, the reason this can be corrupted up to 61% and this 50% here on the block for the blood barrier for the damage can be corrupted up to 61% is because when you vol orb an item and corrupt it, it has a chance of vol orbing the stats up or down, and the maximum it can do is 22%. Rounded down. So 22% of the 50% valid up, if you have a perfect vol up row, ends up being 61%, and the same thing applies to this Veil of the Night helmet. Now, we also are running Calm's Heart, which gives us just flat life, and then we have percentage life course in there. This falls prey to the same vol up thing, so it could be 1,830 life as the base is 1,500 life for this, but we couldn't afford that because that's a lot of money, so we only have the 1,815 maximum life with 2 sockets for Soul Cores. Now, we have no Spirit because that's the trade-off for using this actual chest piece. But if you look at how much life that's giving us a full character worth of life. That's giving us 5,200 life just from equipping that bad boy. So that one's obviously slotted in. I'm using the Grip of the Cool Mac, which gives me percentage maximum life and percentage strength. And then we have that Calandra ring to mirror that. So we basically are wearing 2 of these. And there is, you might say, well, what about a breach ring that's qualityed up 40%? Well, I have 46 strength and 18 attributes with 107 tier 1 life there. If I put that in, we actually lose life. So at this point, when you start stacking so much strength and so much flat life from things like Calm's Heart, then having percentages is actually better. That's why we're using that there. Now, in some cases it's better, in some cases it's not, but that's a little bit more min-maxy than purposes of the conversation here. Now, obviously, in all of the sockets here, we have maximum life, and I created these gloves and boots, and I did a whole session where I learned how to craft basically life gloves and boots. So we have 3 sockets, started with a white base with 2 sockets. We kept slamming them until we got both strength and tier 1 life, and then we had to get hybrid life as well. Now, these ones could be better because they're only tier 2 life. That's why I'm saying I ran out of money. There's more. I have about 30 div left, but this build I got easily over 100 div into at the moment. This could be even more life. We could give him like 30 base more life on this, but this one ended up having like good enough stats. And then you have to do the increased effect of Socketed because we're putting in maximum life cores, body runes there, which gives us 192 life in the Socketed gloves. So it's just life all the way around here. And same with the boots, we ended up doing, you need the increased effect of Socketed cores, and you need strength, and you need maximum life. So these ended up having a ton of life also. So this has 160 plus 66 from the strength, so that's 222 plus 192. So we're like 400 and, what is that? 406 or 404 something life. I don't know, my math's way off here, but this is 400 plus life glove there. And then we have a ton of HP, here on these boots as well. Same thing with the belt here. This is a strength plus life plus chaos res plus corrupted into maximum life. And the reason we want chaos res is because chaos res actually does matter for us, because we can't have elemental resistance, but we can have chaos res, okay? So things like the scepter, for instance, do actually give us chaos res there. And then all of this life, every single time we're getting hit, is being given back to us because of Defiance of Destiny, which in and of itself recovers missing life before you actually get hit by the enemy. So if I am missing 10,000 life and I'm getting hit by a white mob and it's giving me 26% of that back, before that white mob even hits me, it's giving me 2,600 HP back, which is way more than he would have hit me for. So a lot of times bosses and trash mobs and everything in between is actually healing me more than they're actually hurting me once I get down to about half life or so. So that is kind of the combination that ended up making this build so hilarious. And if I respect away from, I have damage and block nodes because block just makes it like easier to apply the corrupting blood. But if I removed all of those points and just went pure travel nodes, strength and life, etc., then I would end up having even more HP. And like I said, the limit that we had was 18,700. Now let me show you what a map looks like, because I don't want you to go out and build this thinking that you're going to make this, it is a pinnacle boss killer, but you're not going to go out and just like clear maps like crazy. So let me show you what the mapping looks like. Now, this is why I actually have the Palm Dreamer here. It's because the Palm Dreamer will actually make the clear a little bit better. So when it attacks a block, and the block makes them degen, and the degen would just kill them with Palm Dreamer, etc. Now, there is a guy who showed up in chat. I want to shout him out, called Shaco Exile here. And the reason I wanted to shout him out is because when I was AFK in Simulacrums, he said, hey, I've been running similar builds, and did you know that you can do something called Bloodhound's Mark with Poison, Bursting Plague, as well as Bleed and Corrosion, and that will actually help your clear out in Simulacrum. So what he does is he applies the Bleeding Mark on there, and then the Bleeding Mark itself makes it where they explode in sort of a poison as well. So that was how he solved the clear, and it is better for like AFK and Simulacrum, because while the Palm Dreamer was the way I solved clear and helps me deal with clear in maps, the Bursting Plague is actually really nice for Simulacrum, because Simulacrum or anything that doesn't like actually create corpses can't be exploded by the Palm Dreamer. So shout out to him for that good idea. And so this is kind of what the map clear looks like. I mean, this isn't the fastest thing in the world. It does actually work, but it's not, this isn't a bow build, guys. Like this started as a meme build. How much life can I actually get? The answer is way more than I actually thought I could get, and it does actually do basically everything in the game. Though there is one downside, which is if something can attack you, you can't do damage to it. So if you have something that's like the Zest only has one attack, everything else qualifies as like a spell, or if you have something like the Swamp Lady who only creates like the Drowning Orbs, etc., she doesn't even attack. She only creates like spells. So you literally can't deal any damage to her because you can't block anything she does. So you have to be able to block things she does, and because of the chains to block, which makes it where you can block literally everything in the game outside of those AoE like ground degen type of stuff you're walking on, that makes this actually be significantly better than I thought it was going to be. So started kind of as a joke, ended up being something really fun that cleared actually more content than my normal characters, which is pretty funny, and I just hope you enjoyed a little bit of this showcase. So that's about it. I love you all. Hope you guys have a fantastic day and enjoyed this sort of meme build, and I'll catch you on the live streams now because it's time to start a new build. All right, bye.